Hey everyone, I wanted to go ahead and put out my predictions for Nintendo's most recently announced upcoming Nintendo Direct that's set to be the first one of 2022. So there's a lot of expectations already riding on this Direct that people are definitely ready to finally see what Nintendo has to offer. And I think it goes without saying that a lot of this stuff is going to be riding on the fact that they have several titles that they have already revealed for 2022 and that they're going to showcase more information on each one of them. Starting out with Kirby Forgotten Lands. It wouldn't even surprise me if this Direct is actually focused on this title right out of the gate. All signs are showing that people are definitely receptive to this brand new Kirby title. They're looking at the visuals, they're loving what they're seeing. They're interested in knowing a little bit more about the little critter that they showcased before and how he's inevitably going to turn obviously into the bad guy, because usually that's what Kirby games are all about. They're all about deception. Whatever cute little critter you see as being new Kirby's friend is going to turn out to be the bad guy at the end of the game. There's also brand new mechanics and new abilities that Kirby has that we need to see more about, and of course the new areas, and just showcasing just the variety and the breadth of what this game is actually going to have and feature. I would love to be able to tell you that Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp is one of the most exciting releases that I'm looking forward to, but I'm very concerned that if we don't actually see this title in this Nintendo Direct, we're probably not going to be seeing any more of this game probably until the fall. It's already been delayed once already from I believe November or late December of last year, all the way not to the first quarter of 2022, but actually April 8th, I believe, is what the release date is showing on the official Nintendo eShop as of right now. So it's actually part of the second quarter of the year and the first fiscal quarter for Nintendo. So the delay was actually over 3 months, which is kind of unexpected. And as of right now, we've still yet not seen anything other than the first official trailer. So it makes me a little bit worried. They talked about the quality of the game needed some more polishing and some more work, but they haven't even decided to showcase more of it. So it makes me a little bit concerned that if even 3 months was necessarily long enough time for them to be able to delay it, and they probably gonna end up needing to delay it a little bit further. I do think it's right about the right amount of time for them to go ahead and showcase more of Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. This was one of the biggest surprises back at last E3, and I think that we're ready to see more information on this title. I do think now it's a known quantity. It's a very good strategy game. The Mario mechanics with the rabbits work well the first time around, and the second time around they're just going to expound on it and make it a little bit better. I do think that they're going to have to do a little bit more to showcase just how good of a set of mechanics they're going to have for players to keep them engaged. And at the end of the day, I do think that they need to showcase just a little bit more for fans to really be excited for this title, because in the long list of 2022 releases, this one can definitely get lost in the shuffle. Now, Splatoon 3 was actually revealed almost a year ago by now. It was actually the biggest reveal in the first Direct for 2021. So this time around, I do think that we're ready to see much more. I believe the last trailer that we got, I believe by the end of last year, was a little bit more story focused and almost I couldn't even follow it. It was just all the imagery that they shown, and it was just kind of weird in the way that they showcase it, but that's kind of Splatoon. That's usually what it is. I think that we're ready to see a little bit more of a structured trailer that's focusing more on multiplayer and showcasing just the differences of the new maps, maybe new mechanics, maybe new weapons and stuff like that. They went over that a little bit in the first trailer, but that was a reveal trailer, so they weren't really going to showcase a lot. I do think that if this is going to be a June/July release, somewhere around that time window, I think we should be expecting to see more information on this one very soon, and specifically in this Direct. Now, I think there's 4 games that a lot of people are going to be saying, we need to see more of this. We should be expecting to see more of this in this Direct, and I just don't necessarily think that's the case. Bayonetta 3 falls into that category. I think we saw what we saw last year, and that's just going to be that. If this game is launching at the end of this year, then we should probably be expecting to see more of it at E3. And maybe even just in between then, if they have a mini Direct or something like that, they put that at the end of that presentation, being the biggest thing that they showcase there. I do think that we're not ready to see more of it just yet, because again, this is a platinum title and Nintendo kind of calls the shots, and I don't necessarily think they want to muddle it up with all the other titles that they have released for this year. Breath of the Wild 2 is just not going to happen. This is an E3 title that they're just going to focus on heavily at E3. So no one should be expecting anything when it comes to Breath of the Wild. The word Zelda will not be uttered in this direct at all. I don't think so whatsoever. So I wouldn't even expect anything Zelda related. When it comes to Metroid Prime 4, it falls in the same category as Silksong at this point in time to me personally. Metroid Prime 4 and Silksong are two games that are going to get shown whenever they get shown, whenever that end up may being. And we just don't have any expectations when that could actually be. Metroid Prime 4 is now 2 years into development, or almost 3 years since it was rebooted. Silksong has been in the works for longer. Remember, that was supposed to be an expansion or DLC for the original Hollow Knight, but now they turned it into a full game. I do think we're going to see Silksong before we see Metroid Prime 4, but realistically speaking, you shouldn't be expecting any of these two games to show up in any direct. They'll just show up and you should be surprised and glad that they do whenever that happens. When it comes to third-party titles, I've always banked on a Bandai Namco game showcasing in a direct, and Tales of Arise to me is the one that I should be expecting to see. However, when it comes to my predictions specifically, every time that I make a prediction for a Bandai Namco game to be shown in that direct, it doesn't happen and ends up happening on the following direct. So for me personally, I'm just going to say that Tales of Arise is going to be shown in this direct, so they can actually end up showing it on the E3 direct that we should be expecting this summer. I wouldn't expect it realistically to show up in this direct, although I actually wanted to. I think this is a perfect game that's going to be on the Switch. A lot of people are going to talk about the visuals, but those are just like effects. A lot of it, just like the pretty look for that game, is just a lot of After Effects that they could definitely tone down on the Switch, and it'll run just fine. It's not going to be a big problem. I do expect Scarlet Nexus to eventually get ported over to Switch as well, but that title appearing on the Nintendo Switch is going to be wholly dependent on whether Bandai Namco wishes to spend the money on porting it over to a new system. Ultimately, I don't think Scarlet Nexus did as well as they probably would have wanted it to. I know they said in like one of the fiscal reports late last year that it did all right for them. It met expectations, but their expectations couldn't possibly have been that it didn't chart in Japan. It barely charted here in the United States, one for the month that it launched on like PlayStation, and then on Xbox it was on like Game Pass a few months right after, and even the Game Pass numbers didn't seem all that appealing. So while I do think they could potentially port it over, and I would love to see that, it ultimately depends on whether Bandai Namco wants to put the financial backing into like paying a couple of developers to work on that and get it out done before the end of the year. I do expect Square Enix, however, to showcase more of Chocobo GP and Triangle Strategy. Triangle Strategy is about to come out at the end of this month, I believe. This game is in dire need of marketing. I think it's going to get lost in the shuffle like I talked about earlier with Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. I think Triangle Strategy is just going to completely just get ignored. I don't think Nintendo is doing a lot of marketing for it. It's not their obligation. This is Square Enix's game, so they should be doing all the work and all the heavy lifting, but I don't necessarily see them doing that right now. And Chocobo GP is another one of those weird card games that, oddly enough, if it just actually runs well and is gathering a few decent amount of reviews, I think that this game could actually do very well for them. Obviously, it's never going to touch Mario Kart 8 Deluxe or anything along those lines. No one's saying that. But I do think for like a low budget title that Square Enix is making a Nintendo Switch exclusive, I do think that it can do well for them for sure. I do think that this direct is going to close out though with, I think at the very least, two titles that I'm definitely hoping to see. And the first one is of course Xenoblade Chronicles X Remastered. And the only reason why I'm saying this finally ported over to the Nintendo Switch from the Wii U is that it's been now, I believe, over a year since Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition launched on the Switch. And that title has now sold, I believe, 1.5 million copies on the Nintendo Switch, if I'm doing my math right, and from the reports that I read. So that game has already been on the Wii, was obviously on the Wii U, and on the new 3DS as well. And the Switch version ended up outselling all of them. And it did extremely well. It reviewed well. People spoke very well for it. The little stuff that they added after the game was all right. It wasn't necessarily all that exciting, but it was more than enough for people to be able to check it out. And it just should have never sold that well to begin with. So I think that all the question marks that were pending there for Xenoblade Chronicles X appearing on the Switch, which were financial. Ultimately, I think Monolith Soft didn't want to put the investment themselves to pay for the game. I think they wanted Nintendo to basically pay for the port. I think that's all been sorted out. That quote is from a few years ago. I think all of that after Definitive Edition has been sorted out, and we're finally going to be able to see Chronicles X finally appearing on the Switch. And of course, I think this direct will end with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which is most likely going to be a 2023 title. I think we are long overdue for seeing whatever the next big Xenoblade Chronicles game is going to showcase. It's going to be. They did a whole heck of a lot of marketing, more than I would have actually expected when they showcased Pyra coming into Smash. Those directs, those presentations, when they did all the Pyra stuff for Smash, they were like overwhelmingly positive. I know like the Smash community loves to complain about like sword characters and anime characters. Look, Pyra and Mythra are extremely popular. The figures like sell out instantly whenever they go up on sale. They've had to do reprints. Just the Xenoblade Chronicles brand right now is hot. Nintendo should have probably showcased this game late last year. I think they've been holding on to it, and I think this is the time for them to finally go ahead and give us some information on Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which again, I do think is going to be launching next year. But that's about all the predictions that I have for this video. I am excited to see what they're going to showcase in the Direct. Hopefully I'm right on some of this, and hopefully I get most of them right. If you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.